Well, we go to what could be the last opportunity for drivers to get some racing this weekend. It's the senior second chance. Let's have a look at the starting grid. Pole position is going to be Flynn Fitters alongside will be Miel Hendricks. Bram Plomp and Stain Peters ran out row 2. Dominic Scheppers and Wouter Polle ran out row 3. Enzo van den Dickenberg and Martin Geiskens ran out row 4 with Kaz Boshouse and Dean Winters rounding out the top 10. Lex Quintens and Devian Horst ran out row 6. Simon Pierre and Wesley Eckhart round out row 7. Luca Prima and Giorgio Markenstein row 8. And it's Jake Riches and Gwen Bloxil rounding out row 9. Completing the top 20, Amber Christ and Milo Sjöstrand, with Dante Sima and Max Costa rounding out the 22 strong grid. 30 drivers have already qualified to the final. The top 6 out of this one will then make it through in their own right. And then the senior Rotax final will be the last event of this opening round of the 2024 Dutch Championship for Rotax, KZ2 and KZ2 Masters, powered by Chrono Karting. Now, there is a lot more darker, grayer cloud around the circuit, particularly from what my vantage point is a little bit further away from the main highway that's just opposite the backstretch, which we call the Europolan, which is the main road. The Europolan itself, 90 km/h speed limit. So the drivers now make their way towards the 12th and final corner. Red lights on the gantry. Revs rise. Lights are at first time. We're underway as someone in the mid-pack gets a little bit of a twitch, nearly compromises the driver behind, who has to go slightly left to avoid. Everyone trying to get through. Turn 3, one's gone sideways, and that's nearly caused havoc behind. I think it might, well, might have been possibly Martin Geiskens. Not 100% sure. Geiskens started 8th on the road as the field makes its way through into turn 7. Well, one driver's gone around and was collected by somebody else. That was the 3:07, I think, of Dominic Scheepers. Yes, it is. So Dominic, who was 5th at the start, now tumbles down the order. Opening lap now being completed. And leading the way, it's Miel Hendricks, Flynn Fitters, Stain Peters, and then Bram Plomp round out the top 4. 5th, it's Enzo van den Dickenberg. Wouter Polle rounds out the top 6. So, yeah, Kaz Boshouse was the other driver involved with Dominic Scheepers. So, and also where you finish. If you finish in the top 6, you go through to the final, your grid position will be based on the results of the second chance heat. So if you are first in this race, you are 31st on the grid in the final later on. So with 21 drivers covered by just under 7.3 seconds, anything is possible in this race. So 2 laps have been completed. Fastest lap of the race, Wouter Polle in the number 387, 56.248 as the field, the top 6 make their way down the Europolan on lap 3. Miel Hendricks trying to scarper away into the distance, but that's easier said than done when you've got the likes of Fitters, Peters, Plomp, Van Dickenberg and Polle closing in. Van Dickenberg looking to stick the nose up the inside of Plonk, going through into turn 9. Thought better of it, wait, and now is going to wait for another opportunity to get through. Martin Gaskins now down into 16th position. Not been a good one for the 321. But with the top 6 now rounded out by Enzo van den Dickenberg, who's just been passed by Woutapole for 5th place. They were covered by 1.355 seconds. But with the second chance heat, it might be your second chance, but you don't want to squander it. Seen it before where drivers in the top 6 have received post-race penalties. I've had nothing coming up just yet on... Oh, well, we've had a sidewall clash going through as it's now going to be all for themselves. This is one thing they don't want to be one thing that is not probably the most advisable course of action. Be aggressive on every single corner, every single driver that you're racing against. If you are in that top 6, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. But one of the other things that you need to remember, mechanical sympathy with the kart. Make sure that you give your mechanic as little work to do as possible, because it's going to be a tight turnaround for that final later on. As all right, Enzo van den Dickenberg goes over the back bumper of Bram Plomp and then has contact with the left rear of the 337, which puts Plomp sideways and dumps him out of the top 6. This is where the those signs of desperation sit in. And you can tell by the way that a driver's working the steering wheel. The language of how the kart is responding to the driver inputs is another key factor to consider. Move now happening up into turn 11. So Martin Gaskins is now out. Jake Riches, the only national representative of the UK, has made up 5 places. Max Costa up 11 places, and there is still just over 8 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Could Costa come from at the stone-dead back end of the field and make it into the top 6? Stranger things have happened. So 7.5 minutes to go, plus 2 additional laps. Hendricks leads from Fitters. Pole now up to 3rd ahead of Peters. Dickenberg. Roos now into 6th. Devin Host, who's been on CRG machinery this weekend, has been running with the Kartstore Racing team, run by Kartstore Benelux, and Henk de Jong being an integral part of that. Simon Pierre now in 10th place behind Bram Plomp, who is starting to make some, or trying to make some moves up the order. And there is Hendricks versus Fitters. This is for the lead in the senior second chance heat. This will determine 31st position on the grid. If they both make it out scot-free and clean as a whistle. That's one of the big things that they need to do, is not have a penalty. I've seen it where drivers have got into a second chance heat and went, I'm gonna send it. And you send it, you not only compromise your race, you also compromise the opportunity for somebody else to not have that chance to go through and race in the top 36. But with Devin Horst starting down in 12th, currently running P6 on the 345 entry. This could be something quite interesting to watch in the final later on this afternoon. Fastest lap of the race at the moment is by the 345, 55.080 on lap 7. So Max Costa now up to 10th, having got past Simon Pierre from Belgium. So Pierre up 2 places, Riches up 2 places, Bloxhill up 5 places, or Riches up 5 places, Bloxhill up 5 places, Marcus Stein up 2 places from 16th on the grid. Top 3 covered by just under 0.6 of a second. Enzo Dickenberg gets through on Stein Peters. Miles Sjöstrand now up 2 positions past Dominic Schippers and Dean Winters. So the Swede, she's now up into 18th place. And still this battle here. Van Dickenberg, Peters and Rust. Rust now through at turn 9. But they are starting to catch the 3 in front. 54.8 flats was the last lap time by Devin Rust. And he's just done a 54.966. Top 6 covered by 2.4 seconds. And that gap is closing. So there is still an opportunity for someone to stake their claim at the front of the field in the second chance heat, going into 31st position. You can bet your bottom dollar that Devian Hurst is going to be one of those drivers to factor in. Absolutely rapid, has been rapid the last couple of years in juniors and seniors. And now, despite all the dramas that Hurst has had, it's been a refreshing change of pace for the young Dutchman. 0.42 separates the top 3 as there goes Flynn Fitters up the inside through turn 2, clean as a whistle, past Mio Hendricks, and now is leading the charge of the Light Brigade, leading the way. Wutapole up the inside. Oh, that was a bit too close for comfort for the 387. Trying to go through on Hendricks. And that has now allowed Devian Ross to close on in. So Wutapole went a bit too deep. And it nearly cost the 387 big time. Well, it could cost the 387 big time if the driver behind gets through and then goes after the 2 in front of him. Devian Horst up the inside. That's going to be P3. P3 on the road for Devian Horst, who started down in 12th. And now, well, quickly showed the nose up the inside. Thought better of it. And now might have a chance of getting through on Hendricks down the Europolon. A little bit of tatatav there between Rust and Hendricks. And here goes Rust up the inside through. That's P2. So all Devian Rust now needs to do is to get past Flynn Fitters and then scarper away into the distance. Hendricks second, Rust in third. Fourth, it's Pole. Fifth, it's Van Dickenberg. Sixth, it's Peters. So these 6 as there's the move for the race lead. 1 minute, 38 seconds to go. And on the beginning of lap 13, they say that number's lucky for some. It certainly was lucky for Devian Hurst by taking a great late lunge up the inside of Flynn Fitters to take the lead on lap 13 of the race. Inspired work there by Devian. We're now coming down to the final 60 seconds plus 2 additional laps of this senior second chance heat here at the Home of Champions. We've got 4 more races to go after that, folks, so don't go anywhere. And that'll include the 6 drivers from this race that qualify for the top 36 final. Devian Hurst has already got a half-second advantage over Flynn Fitters. Casbo's House. Currently now down in 14th position. Started 9th. Bramplomp started 3rd, now 8th. Stein Peters still holding on. Has got a gap between himself and Luca Brima. Brima has got to start pushing if he wants to get down that gap. And last time around it was just under 1.9 seconds. Timer has now expired. Devian Hurst now will take us on to the penultimate lap of the race. Lap 15 out of 16 underway. As Woutepole trying to get through on Miel Hendricks. If anything happens there, then Enzo van den Dickenberg and Stein Peters would also be very, very thankful for that. As there is Enzo van den Dickenberg, Stein Peters gets through for 5th place, but the time is fast counting away. So this time around we'll get the last lap board out for Senior Rotax second chance. Devian Hurst, difficult qualifying. Even more dramas in the heats today. But the 3:45 has now got a gap of nearly 1.3 seconds. Flynn Fitters at one point led the race, currently holding station in second and now starting to pull away from Miel Hendricks. Woutepole is there or thereabouts, so is Stein Peters, so is Enzo van den Dickenberg. Then you got the two behind, Luca Brima and Bram Plomp. They're too far behind to mount an offensive at this late stage. Miles Jostrand now up 4 places to 16th from 20th on the grid. A great effort by her to have a little bit more luck on her side. But the first of 6 drivers provisionally going through to the second chance heat is, of course, the winner, Devian Hurst in the 3:45. Second, it's going to be Flynn Fitters. Third, Miel Hendricks, Woutepole, Stein Peters, and Enzo van den Dickenberg are provisionally going through to the top 36 final. Luca Brima, Bram Plomp, Simon Pierre, Lex Quintens, they ran at the top 10. Max Costa, Giorgio Markenstein, Dante Sima, Casbo's House, and Wesley Eckhart ran at the top 15. Miles Jostrand, Jake Richards, Dean Winters, Dominic Sheppers, Amber Christ, and due to have Gwen Blogsill crossing the line, which happens now. Martin Gaskins, unfortunately, out on lap 3, as Devian Hurst manages to fight back to book his place in the final with the second chance heat win.